I don't even know where to begin, honestly. History has repeated itself time and time again. I come here today with a heavy heart. You know, my brand, Chopped and Roots, my YouTube channel, I tend to use it to bring light, humor, you know, along with my perspectives about certain topics and things that are going on. Right now, there's shit going on. In the midst of a pandemic, there have been hashtags of black men and black women senselessly being murdered by cops, the biggest gang in this country. We have Ahmaud Arbery, who was taking a jog in a suburban neighborhood. Two white men took it upon themselves to exact the law with no badge and murdered him because they thought he was a suspect in something he was not a suspect in. The news outlets then tried to demean him, saying that he was trespassing on property and this, that, and the third. Okay. Breonna Taylor was in her home when cops had a no-knock warrant, entered that motherfucker, and shot her dead. Then had the audacity to prosecute the boyfriend for shooting back when they entered without no warning. That's Breonna Taylor, right? Sean Reed was a man who was Facebook Live in his murder, running away from the cops, knowing that he wasn't right? But should that end in murder? Then, as you hear in the video, the cops that killed him said, "Guess it's looking like a closed casket, homie." Cops are so desensitized to the crimes they commit because they know they're going to get away with them. I haven't even touched on George Floyd. What is it? The needle that broke the camel's back. I haven't even touched on that man. I just listed 3 murders that have happened senselessly. And so with George Floyd, his story starts off at a local convenience store where he buys a pack of cigarettes with what looks to be a counterfeit $20 bill. This purchasing cigarettes with a counterfeit $20 bill, does that sound like it should end in murder? Does that sound like it should end in murder? The clerk called the cops. George Floyd did not leave the scene, mind you. He did not leave the scene. He was in the car with 2 other passengers. And they took that man out. He said, "Oh, I'm claustrophobic. I can't do this," and purposely laid on the floor. I'm not going to leave out any facts. It seems as though initially he was resisting arrest, right? Then the cop put his fucking knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That is what the crime report states, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Then, while he was, of course, saying he could not breathe, an Asian cop that was standing on the side took George Floyd's pulse. He could not find one, yet the knee still remained on George's neck. He was pronounced dead moments later. Now the country seems to be in utter chaos. They are looting, they are stealing, they are breaking into businesses. They don't give a fuck if it's black. They don't give a fuck if it's white. It seems as though there's antagonizers within these protests that are not of black descent, of African descent. There are white people taking this time to enjoy anarchy and going in, feeding into the protests. There are cops instigating and creating fires that's instigating the protest, while we see both footage of peaceful and violent protests. We see that on in living color, on the news, in social media. You can't escape it. It's there. So those are the facts. Now, let's dive in a little deeper. So initially, when all of this began, because unfortunately, this is something that we're used to. How many hashtags have we seen in the past 10 years, starting with Trayvon Martin and ending with George Floyd? How many have we seen? So some people are desensitized to it. Some people can't take it anymore. They don't want to see it. They want to get away from it. And some people are taking action. There are people who feel as though there are certain people with big platforms that should speak out, that should donate, and that should be in the streets protesting as well. Some people believe that just because some celebrities or some big vocal people with vocal platforms are not speaking does not mean they're not doing things. And that may be true. For instance, Jackie Aina called out big fashion industries that use black culture in order to make a coin. Examples include Pretty Little Thing and Fashion Nova. She called them out saying, you see what's going on during this time. You have a large platform. What are you doing about it? There are people calling out celebrities who use black culture or are married to black men but have not been saying anything, and they've been calling them out too, such as the Kardashian and Jenner clan. There are people who want Instagram and social media influencers such as B. Simone and Desi Banks to talk about or use their platform to influence and encourage others to create movement, to create change in their vicinity, whether it's signing a petition, whether it's going to your city's protest, whether it's riding, whether it's just speaking on it. There are instances within this social media where we see people attacking within the black community. We're talking about Africans versus African Americans. Black-owned businesses, don't loot them, don't steal. We have hierarchy where people such as 2 Chainz and Shanika, whatever the fuck her name is, crying about Gucci stores and crying about businesses and don't loot, don't steal, don't rob, don't kill. So with all that being said, my personal viewpoint on everything is burn it down. Burn it down. You want to take that literally, you want to take that metaphorically, do what you will with what I said. Because at this day and age, I'm 27 years old, right? I'm assuming that the cops or the murderers that have committed these crimes are also older than me, if not the same age as me, if not, same age or older. It is not my duty, nor is it the black community's duty to educate people on racism because unfortunately, and with no pun intended, the definition is very black and white. There should be no stance where people are talking about, we just need to educate them. We need to use peaceful. Fuck you and fuck that education. They have erased our education from the books with the exception of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And you believe that us educating them, as many black men and women have a large platform, us educating them is going to stop them from senselessly killing us? Fuck that. Fuck this education that's left me in debt. Fuck it. Fuck it. Burn it down. Burn it down. There's no reason why a grown-ass black person has to educate a grown-ass white man or white woman on racism. We have white women who are mildly inconvenienced, coughing on people because they are upset. We have them calling the cops because they see a black person in their space thinking that they should not be in there. Thinking that, why are they here? Why is a black person in this space? They have to be stealing, they have to be broke, or they simply must be misplaced. How many stories have we seen? How many videos have we seen of white men and white women calling the cops on black men and women for being mildly inconvenienced, for seeing a black person in their space? Let a motherfucker come into a Gucci store and now you looking at the black person some type of way because what are they doing in the Gucci store? Can they afford Gucci or are they coming to steal? How many videos have we seen of that? And you want me to educate the ignorant? People who are rooted in their ignorance, they ain't gonna change no matter what truth you bestow on them. Fuck educating them. Let's talk about peace. When has peace helped anything? How many peaceful protests have you seen where the leader of it is still alive? Y'all, I don't know why white people feel as though they need to bring up Martin Luther King like they did not assassinate them themselves. They assassinated him themselves. So why do y'all keep bringing that motherfucker up? Why do y'all keep bringing Martin Luther King up? His children are still alive saying that riots and protests are literally the voice of the unheard. And here you are saying, no, your father wouldn't like. Hey, listen, fuck you and your father. Let's start there. Don't worry about Martin Luther King, his children, and how they view their father. You need to worry about you and your cousin fucking friends, and you need to go that way. Videos of protests and riots have shown a great amount of white people are outside. Whether they're for the cause or whether they're simply there to riot is beyond me. I'm not educating no grown-ass people about things that they should know from jump. Racism is taught. It's not something that people are born with. I don't know how many feel-good videos and content that you've seen of these little black and white babies having the time of their life, not seeing color. It is taught. It is taught. And speaking on that, neutrality, being neutral in situations such as this is already an answer. It's already showing what side you're on, which is the opposing side. It's funny how with the Me Too movement, with rape, with certain situations and certain politics, people can speak up. But when it comes to race, people tend to want to be neutral. Oh, God is love. Love is love. What would Jesus do? What would God do? I personally feel as though God and Jesus, when they were fed up, they did what they had to do, which was burn it down, flood it up, burn it down, flood it up, do what you got, send the plague, send the plague. They will do anything they have to do in order to teach the people a lesson. And this is a lesson right here. We are creating history right here, right now. As with the footage being seen, you see the same thing that we're rioting and protesting for happening in the streets. The police are in the streets putting their knees on people's necks. The same reason why we are protesting. Eric Garner said, I cannot breathe. George Floyd said, I cannot breathe. They are both no longer here for things that they could have simply been arrested for. Simply been arrested for. And what is crazy about what's going on today and why it's such a big deal is that black people, the black community, is not asking for anything except equality. We're not asking for special needs. We're not asking for a specific type of skill set. All we want is for people to be policed as if they were white. What would you do if that was your son? Your son gave the cashier a counterfeit $20 bill for a pack of cigarettes. You gonna put your knee on his neck for almost 10 minutes and kill him for a pack of cigarettes and a counterfeit $20 bill? One of the things that's really pissed me off since the Botham case with the Botham Jean, which was Botham John, excuse me, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think he was Caribbean. Since then was that he was killed in his own home. He was killed in his own home. He was minding his black ass business and he was killed in his own home. Once that happened, people and news outlets began setting up theories, saying he was smoking weed. And my thing is, what does him smoking weed have to do with the fact that this officer came in to the wrong apartment on the wrong floor and shot this man dead because she thought it was an intruder in her own home. The intruder was her. She was not in her own home. One, they want to blame it on fatigue, that she was tired. So you're so tired that the first thing you do when you hear something unknown is shoot first and ask questions later, as a man and woman of the law. And so since then, what's bothered me about that, or another case, is with Ahmaud Arbery. He was murdered in February. Footage released forced their hand to arrest those two men for murdering Ahmaud. He was murdered in February, I think February 20th, and they weren't arrested until April, May. So what if the footage wasn't leaked? And this is what y'all want to peacefully protest against? This is what y'all want to educate against? B. Simone and Desi Banks, two social media influencers, speak on wanting to change with peace. With B. Simone, what would Jesus do? We shouldn't act as angry black women, but instead we should act as Christians. We have T.I. speaking on Atlanta and not looting or rioting within Atlanta and their city because Atlanta is Wakanda. They don't do that over there.
When you don't get treated right in New York, when you don't get treated right in LA, when you can't get treated right in Detroit, when you don't get treated right in St. Louis, when you don't get treated right in Alabama, Atlanta has been here for us. This city don't deserve it. However, I understand that a lot of others do. But we can't do this here. This is Wakanda. It's sacred. It must be protected.
Shakina Joe, I think that's how you say her name. She was upset saying you're hitting black businesses, and she was crying with a bonnet on, looking how she looks. And she was speaking on y'all are rioting, y'all are looting stores such as Gucci.
Cause y'all ain't down here fucking up the city of Atlanta based upon somebody losing their life. Y'all angry, y'all mad, y'all selfish. Y'all tearing up people's business. Icebox Indians. They not even white people. Icebox ain't did y'all shit. Y'all done been in the folks' store taking their shit. Them people got a family. That shit not right. Gucci ain't did shit to y'all. Y'all can say whatever y'all want to say. They racist, whatever. I don't want to hear that shit.
And from what I've gathered, she's a plus-sized woman. Gucci don't make clothes for plus-sized women. So we have that. We have T.I. We have Desi Banks. We have B. Simone. You know, LL Cool J was saying, imagine being parents to biracial children. And my thing is, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? We're asking to stop killing black lives. We're saying Black Lives Matter. We're not saying that white lives matter less. It's not supposed to be a black and white thing. We're simply saying Black Lives Matter. So what does that have to do with your biracial children? Your biracial children who, they are both black and white. You know, they're not monoracial. They're black and white. But what's also black and white is racism. What's also black and white here, morally, is right and wrong. They're senselessly killing black people on the streets. Your biracial kids should know that. Their white side shouldn't be like, well, no. Their white side should be like, well, burn it. It shouldn't have to be such a conundrum that your kids are biracial. What does that have to do with having equal rights? The system wasn't built for us. It wasn't built for us. And I get that. But it's time for change. We are living in a pandemic. COVID-19 did not go anywhere. People were in their homes for months. And as soon as the world opens 25 to 50%, cops are killing them. Cops are killing us. Of course people are ready to riot. Of course people are ready to go off. Because how dare you? 100,000 people plus have died from COVID in the United States alone. And you're adding to it for a counterfeit $20 bill and a pack of cigarettes? Oh, no-knock warrant that wasn't for Breonna Taylor. You killed her. You killed a man, a young man on the streets for jogging because you mistook him for somebody that he was not. Who gives a fuck about your biracial kids and you being a parent to them? Are y'all fighting for the cause or not? Being neutral is an answer within itself. Guys, let's fight it with love. Fuck that. Are they fighting us with love? I don't see why black people have to be the bigger person all the time. Why do we have to be the bigger person all the time when everybody is sucking the life out of us? Everybody loves black culture. Everybody loves black people. They love us because of what we can do capital-wise. Look at the athletes in every single category of sports. Look at the best ones. I'm guaranteeing you none of them are white. All of them are black. All people of color. And let's not mistake people of color from being black. Black is its own category. People of color themselves don't even like black people. But everybody wants our culture. It is wild to me. It is wild to me because it is not rocket science. It is not something that you need to have a mathematical equation to figure out. It is simply black lives wanting equality. We don't want shit else. We don't want shit else. And for the black men and women talking about what is looting going to do, what has peace done? What has talking about it done? Colin Kaepernick started a protest where kneeling on the sports ground. What did that do? But incite more anger from them. How many peaceful protests have happened in history, and what has continued to happen? What has continued to happen from these peaceful protests? With love, what has continued to happen? Botham's family hugging the murderer of their son, of their brother. You think, what did anything stop there? They were the bigger person. You saw it. You saw it. Did anything happen then? Since violence is not the answer and peace is not the answer, what is your solution? Everybody wants to say what's not the answer. So what is the answer? What is the answer? I'm so confused. Everybody talking about what we should not do. What should we do? Because they're not listening to shit else. They are not listening to shit else. All these murders created an issue to where the country is in an uproar. This would not be happening if there was justice for senseless murders. Trayvon's murderer is still alive and still free. Eric Garner's free. The murderers of each senseless death are either free or not serving time that justifies their crime. When people, when the Amish come out, when Anonymous comes out, when the spellcasters come out, when people who usually do not get along start to get along for a cause, something has to be shown or something has to be connected in somebody's head that says, gangs are getting along. People who don't usually fuck with each other are getting along for this cause of black lives being senselessly are tainting the streets with the blood, and there's no justice for it. Do you know how unfair that is? Do you know how unfair that is to get away with murder because you have a badge? And people, of course, I don't know how many narratives we've gathered here. Black on black crime is always brought up when something like this happens. We need to fix our community first before looking at the other hand. How are we wanting respect? We need them to respect us. We are out here looking like thugs. I don't know how many narratives that have to be pushed, how many respectability politics have to be pushed for y'all to understand that they don't give a fuck. Men in suits, men with degrees, who's a doctor, men and women who are lawyers. They don't give a fuck who you are because you're black. They stopped a judge on the street for no reason. They didn't even know she was a judge, but by the time they realized that, they fucked up. They saw a black woman in a nice car and was like, this can't be right. Nobody perpetuates the white on white crime or how black on black crime is based off of socioeconomic status and where people stay and where people live. Why is it that when something like this happens, people talk about black on black crime? We have Shamik Moore saying that Rosa Parks should have taken a goddamn taxi.
Rosa Parks sitting at the front of the bus, right? What we don't know as a black community is that there were his family, Dr. Claude Anderson, had black-owned taxi cabs and black buses that could have been used during that time. You know,
you're a black man. You played an Afro-Latina boy for Spider-Man. You played a woke boy for Dope. What are you talking about? The silence of many is very loud. The silence of a lot of celebrities is very loud. We shouldn't idolize them. However, we need a movement. And the movement is encouraged and influenced by a lot of platforms. And celebrities have platforms they can utilize in order to encourage movement. And they don't because of the white coin. They don't want to mess up their brand. There have been a few celebrities, such as John Boyega and Tory Lanez, who didn't write something or didn't post a hashtag or a picture of George Floyd. They spoke out. They used their platform and they spoke out. And that's what we need. Not only that, we need people like J. Cole or Nathan from Insecure, I think his name is Kendrick Sampson in real life, to be on the streets. Don't worry about me and what I gotta say. I'm on the streets. Tory Lanez is on the streets. There are celebrities giving out milk, water for the tear gas. There are rubber bullets being shot at by peaceful protesters or protesters in general. And there's celebrities out there really doing the damn thing. But people need to understand we're not idolizing celebrities. To be honest, I don't give a fuck about now one of their opinions. They're not fucking feeding or financing me. However, they could be using that platform to create and incite something bigger. And they refuse to do so because of the white coin. And that's cooning. That is cooning. I could not come on here and make another makeup tutorial or do another. I couldn't do it. I haven't even been in the mood to record, but I had to come up on here and I had to say what I had to fucking say. And everything is telling. This moment in time, this pandemic / rebellion is not even one for the books. It's a different type of history because the exposure of so many is telling. Black people are not asking for anything out of the ordinary. We're asking for the bare minimum of a standard, which is equal rights. That's what we're asking for. We have 45 in office who's inciting violence that when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Well, when the trumping begins, the jumping begins. You have a president inciting violence, but you want us to reply back with love? You want us to hit the iMessage effect and hit the heart for the violence that's been ensuing in this country for decades, for centuries? That's what you want us to do as a black community? You want us to ask, what would Jesus do when there's videos of people being hit with rubber bullets, pushed, kneed, and killed? You want us to ask, are they asking what would Jesus do? Are they using religion to contort their actions? They're not, because they know they can get away with it. We have cops on the street right now during protesting ready to kill, ready for the order to shoot people down simply because we are angry. The silence of many is deafening. I'm so disappointed in so much because the conversations being had, it shouldn't need to be had. It shouldn't need to be had. The conversations that are being had right now shouldn't need to be had because it's not rocket science. We should have a space for conversation, for sure. If rioting and looting and stealing and violence is not the answer, what is the answer? Y'all don't want people to hit businesses, whether local or large corporations. This is illegal. This is a crime. Okay, what should we do? The leaders, unfortunately, I hate to reference him, but there was a clip that I saw on Dr. Umar Johnson when he was talking about the political parties that spoke for the middle class, such as Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, are no longer here. So we don't have those spokespeople. Instead, we have celebrities and people looking towards celebrities.
See, the problem is we have too many politically uneducated celebrities speaking for the community. And the problem, Envy and Charlemagne, is the fact that we no longer have a black middle-class bourgeoisie. The gatekeepers are gone. Sharpton is gone. Jesse's gone. Congressional Black Caucus no longer holds the sway. Urban League, NAACP no longer holds the sway. So guess what the white power structure going to do now? They're going to start using black celebrities to represent the opinion of black folks. And I'm very concerned about that because the average rapper is politically uneducated. The average celebrity, actor, entertainer, they are politically uneducated. And even the ones who are politically educated may not have the courage to speak truth to power.
And the silence from a lot of these celebrities is telling. We have Don Lemon and his character arc coming forward and saying he's called out these celebrities by name and they don't want to mess with this and they don't want to touch this because of their brand. But with the Me Too movement, everybody was able to. I don't get why race is such a taboo topic for so many when it's obvious. Dylan Roof was taken to Burger King. There's so many ways to peacefully bring in somebody who's resisting, and yet we see so many of them that are black being murdered. I can't respect anybody who doesn't use their platform to encourage and influence movement. If you can't go out to the protests and the riots if you can't speak out because it'll mess up the aesthetic of your IG feed, if you can't donate because you are broke, if you can't say anything because your PR team said it'll mess up your brand, what can you do? My platform is very small, but my voice is not. I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't come up on this hoe and tell her what it was and tell her like it is. I am upset. I am angry for the black man. I am angry for the black woman. I don't give a fuck about nothing. I don't give a fuck about no Afro-Latina category, no African category, no African-American category, because they don't give a fuck. All they see is black. They don't see Olufemi when they see you. They don't see Devon when they see you. They don't see Carlos when they see you. They see a black man. And that's what I see too. And they're killing you. They're killing people who look like me. They're killing people who look like you. And we're met with so much tension and so much pushback because we're angry that they're killing us. And it's amazing. Why is it so hard to change something that is morally wrong? Why are we getting so much pushback for something when they're killing us in the streets? And why are not enough people saying anything? Beyonce, love her to death. Her video, she didn't even look like she was alive. I thought there was an invisible string moving that mouth.
Is for George Floyd. We all witnessed his murder in broad daylight. We're broken and we're disgusted. We cannot normalize this pain. And I'm not only speaking to people of color. If you're white, black, brown, or anything in between, I'm sure you feel hopeless by the racism going on in America right now. No more senseless killings of human beings. No more seeing people of color as less than human. We can no longer look away. George is all of our family in humanity. He's our family.
However, although some may say she did the minimum, she did something. Also, the narrative that we need to stop resisting arrest or being aggressive and things like this wouldn't happen is also ass. Tatiana Jefferson was killed in her home because a neighbor wanted to do a well checkup, that he wanted to see how she was because he didn't hear from her for some time. So he called the police out of the goodness of his heart just to make sure that his neighbor was okay. And they shot her through the window. That had nothing to do with violence or aggression. Ahmaud Arbery was jogging and was shot by people who aren't police officers. Botham was killed in his own home. There was no aggression there. Breonna Taylor was killed in her own home. There's no aggression there. There's no resisting there. That narrative is dead. They'll kill you whether you are tense, whether you are resisting, or whether you are loose. They are killing you not because of your actions, but because of the color of your skin. Whether you watch this or whether you don't watch this, it's very telling. The difference between my makeup tutorials and this is that I'm dead ass right here. Burn it down. And people talk about how many metaphors have we heard about burning will create anew. From the ashes, who knew that a flower could grow? From the concrete, who knew that a flower could? Burn it. They're not understanding peace. They're not understanding peaceful protest. They're not understanding why we kneel. They're not understanding why we don't say the anthem or why we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. They're not understanding why we don't feel comfortable in white spaces. They're not understanding any of that. So until y'all plan, strategize, and mobilize correctly to where they can understand what the fuck we're saying, burn it all. Have a good day.